Welcome everybody to a Delco Nerd Network Hot Take. Folks, if you haven't seen a hot take before, well, it's where a few friends get in a basement. When we give our thoughts, we give our opinions on a TV show, a movie, or a game. Today, it's going to be a movie, and that movie is Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom trio. The DCEU is dead, and that's right, the triple threat Chris
I'm sorry.
trio.
I didn't mean to interrupt.
Go.
Can we have a moment of silence? Okay. Sorry. The bagpipes play. I wish I could do it.
I couldn't get like.
It's okay. You did. That was really good. I should have just let you go. Yeah, Scooch. The DCEU is no more.
10 years. It's good that I.
It's like 13 years technically. When did
only shirt with Aquaman on it, and it's a Snyder shirt. It's
a good call.
It worked for Rebel Moon in this.
Yeah. So here we are, Gooch. We're at the end of a treacherous and long journey that was the DCEU. And Gooch was
over.
hurting. It's done. And listen, can I say,
as a shambling corpse crossing the finish line?
No, absolutely. And I will say at this point, I'm just happy to know that like
it's behind us.
It's just all done. For the most, like, I guess we're getting some people back, like, you know, there's like Viola Davis, but like they're really kind of just wiping the slate clean after this. And I kind of feel bad for Aquaman and the Last Kingdom, genuinely. James Wan, Jason Momoa. What did I say? The
Last?
Oh.
Is it Last or is it Lost?
No, it's the Lost Kingdom.
Okay.
Yeah. No, you're right. I didn't mean to say Last. I feel bad because
the title will be right.
Absolutely. They were in the midst of the whole like DC shakeup and Warner Brothers taking over or like shifting and Discovery being taken over. Like this movie was in full production while all that shit was happening. So there's a lot of stuff that was cut out. And the ending, you can tell they just kind of threw together with what they had to throw together. But yeah, Gooch, I wish I could say there was a better last outing for the DCEU. Mm-hmm. But I had fun with it. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sit here and like die on a hill to be like, this is like a fantastic film.
As my Snyder flag. Like it's like Iwo Jima, like fucking planting the flag. And I'm just like, you know, the last stand of Snyder here.
But I don't know. I like James Wan. I like Jason Momoa. I liked Patrick Wilson in this. I thought it was a good bit of campy fun for the most part. But yeah, do I wish that we could have gotten a more, you know,
a better
grander standoff, yeah, or just a more cohesive in a lot of ways. And like, I would have loved to see what this movie was like.
Give us the Wan cut.
Give us like the Wan version of this, where he starts from the beginning, knowing that this is going nowhere. Yeah, like this is just make your Aquaman movie, and I would love to have seen that because I think it would have been something genuinely special. But instead, we got Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, which is kind of like, you know, the best thing I can compare it to and like this is actually, it's like I think they're trying to go for like an Indiana Jones type vibe in a lot of ways on top of like a superhero with like the adventuring thing. It's Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. I mean, I feel like it's even right there.
If you're watching the video, you probably just noticed I just made this weird face.
He did a little scowl, but
I didn't even like the fact that Trio just said that. Not even because I like Indiana Jones, because I'm like, oh,
Harrison Ford.
No, I just don't need. I don't need Aquaman to be Indiana Jones. But anyway,
I think that works. Like as an adventurer type, like, you know, doing that like treasure hunting, like finding these lost kingdoms. I think that could work. But yeah, there just wasn't a super compelling story. They didn't go as far as I wanted them to, especially with the baby things.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
But
the baby things.
I had fun with it, Gooch. Let's hear your diatribe. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, we all knew I wasn't gonna like this movie. I knew I wasn't gonna like this movie. Yeah, I don't like this movie. But I'm not thinking any more about it. I'm not here to defend it being a bad movie. I think Trio's just on the other side of the coin that I'm on. That I knew with all the behind the scenes stuff going on, I knew it wasn't going to be the movie I wanted. I knew it wasn't going to be the movie it needed to be.
Sure. And
I accepted that fact, and I'm like, I'm going to watch this for the sake of seeing this through to the end, just like maybe like The Walking Dead or something like that, or DC, you know, even if we weren't doing the podcast, we still would have been in theater day one.
Absolutely.
But yeah, you know, like from the beginning, I'm like, and I think my biggest issue with this movie, remember when Snyder like was casting everybody and we saw the first picture of Jason Momoa as Aquaman, shirtless, all the tattoos. Yeah. He has that 5-pointed trident, and it was like, wow, this is a very different Aquaman. Not this campy joke that Aquaman has mostly been known as. You know, it's more than talking to fish. it's, you know, Aquaman seems to be like a force. Arthur Curry is a force to be reckoned with and a very different character. And it's wild how like Lost Kingdom and probably a little bit of Aquaman 1 sort of just backpedals on all of that. And I get the behind the scenes stuff, the Snyder leaving has a lot to do with that, but it's a shame that like...
See, I actually don't think it did though, because I think he was giving full creative control to Juan, but I'm sorry, continue.
I think like I wish Aquaman, I wish the movie took him more seriously. I wish Jason Momoa ended up taking it more seriously. Like the scene in the beginning where he's talking about like, you know, I'm Arthur Curry and this is it and this is my seahorse, whatever the fuck its name is, and I'm like, oh my God. I was like, are you kidding me?
That.
I was just like, this is so dumb. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I just felt like it was so opposite of like, you know, what it was supposed to be. Obviously, like most of this is opposite of what it was supposed to be. And that was like, you know, that's the first scene of the movie, and like that's the rest of my tone. And I'm just watching this, and I'm just like, I just don't care. And I do kind of agree with Trio. I wish they kind of went hard with it and killed Arthur Jr. and took Aquaman's hand, because that's like that's
that storyline.
That's that storyline that they're adapting.
I don't think the Lost Kingdom's like a part of it, but yeah, like that,
right,
yeah.
the Black Mana of it, which I did kind of like, but then again, like Trio was like, this is so Dr. Evil, so like you know, like he has his cronies or all these like outfits. I'm like, what the fuck is
it
this?
is fun. I don't know.
Shit
I
looking
loved
like
it.
I
really
hammerhead,
did.
which is like the aesthetic, but like I'm like, there is some like humor in this, isn't there?
There is, and yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, and like I didn't mind Black Mana's character. I think it was fine. You know, it goes nowhere. Essentially,
Can we agree on this? The suits look fantastic.
Yeah, no,
because they really He looks so good.
I don't like the orange and green on Aquaman anymore, because I think it harkens back to that like not serious Aquaman. The Aquaman people don't take seriously. But I think all the other suits. But I wish we got Patrick Wilson back in the Ocean Master suit.
That thing looks,
that would have been epic.
It looks so good.
But I did like the stealth suit. That was cool. You know, always got to have our like, you know,
of course,
stealth
new
suit.
action figure.
Yeah. But you know, I think what carried the movie for me was Patrick Wilson.
I think so. I think him and Jason Momoa's chemistry.
He can do no wrong.
He is really great. I love him.
He's a great actor. And, Amber Heard is in this movie. Honestly, probably more than you would think. On screen, in scenes, but not a lot of dialogue. So like I from the Amber Heard stuff, I was always like, they're not going to cut as much as you think. Like I'm just like, there's no way they're going to have her in one scene. And there is a scene where she gets like
injured.
She gets hit by Black Mana's beam and she gets fucked up from it. I'm like, oh, there she goes.
Yeah, she's in the hospital the rest of the movie.
But she comes back.
Yeah, no, she does.
And I'm like, yeah,
I will
like,
give it to you. There was more than I expected.
But again, like not to get into the politics of all that shit. I was just like let her service the story, and like that's what you need to do, because that's what this is. This isn't about I'd like stop making these, don't cancel these people, stop making these things reflect like these political things that have nothing to do with this movie, reflect everything else, like what happened to Johnny Depp, and like,
but I do think there
like
is
sucks for him, but like they don't do it to Amber Heard.
Yeah,
like,
I do think the Amber Heard of it all is the more ridiculous. Like it's just her specific situation really is what I think bugs people, and I think fairly, but like I think they had the worst of all worlds with putting her in this, because you don't get those emotional connections that you need.
Right, they
like
had
with
a
the
kid
mother,
and they're married, and you just don't give a shit about that.
Well, but it's just like she should be in it much more, and having that kind of emotional confrontation with Arthur. Like they have like, I don't think they barely speak to each other this whole movie. And I think you lose something in that
connection.
And I did think there was one good scene.
Can I cut you off?
Yeah.
Because in the comics, Arthur and Mira's relationship is
It's
a
strained
big
because of it. Yes, absolutely.
component of their characters.
That storyline, yeah.
And Mira is a really cool comic book character who, again, I think in the Snyder version was pretty cool to see. She's a badass in the comics, like, you know, like badass bitch, like kind of thing. She's not very nice. She's like, you know, very Atlantean, I guess, as you could probably think, like a hard motherfucker kind of person, and you just don't see that in this.
Well, again, I just don't think they give her any screen time. Like it's weird.
She doesn't have enough.
It's just like
space
she's
to do
just
it.
there when she has like a line or two, and there's
our
I will
baby,
give it,
our son.
When the baby is lost.
in the kingdom.
Jason Momoa gives his worst no. That was his worst part of the movie for me. But her guttural scream was good. Hers was
when
like,
they were like, the Arthur Jr.'s gone, and everyone's like, no, and he's like, no. I'm like, shut the fuck up.
I
dude.
thought her no was very good, like genuinely like hard, but his was like, like it did not work.
I did appreciate though they did commit to the bit of like hey, this leads right off from Aquaman 1 with Dr. Shin, and he's the one interested in Atlantis, and nobody believes him, but Black Manta is going to give him the money and the funds to find Atlantis, so then Black Manta can get the power, fix the suit. Like, we jump right off from that. I appreciate that they did that, and then just be like, well,
like this is an Aquaman sequel. That you probably would want to watch Aquaman before this, but my roommate went with us and he didn't. He said by the time we got out, he was like, that was entertaining, but you need more than that to get people in the theater too. And
sure,
it's like,
but maybe you don't though, but I do. I wanted more from that. You're okay with just being entertained.
No, that's not. No, hold on. That's
really?
where I think I'm okay.
Then why are you?
I'm saying I enjoy this. I did enjoy this. Do I want it to be better? Do I think it should be better? Am I gonna go out and give you guys a glowing recommendation to go see it?
Sure.
No.
Right. Okay.
But like, did I have fun with it and enjoy myself in the theater? Yeah, I did. But should it be more than that? And do I think it could have been way more than that? And do I think they actually have the bones of like a pretty compelling story here? Yeah. I like the idea of the Lost Kingdom. I like the idea of Black Manta going after his family, needing his son, having a real kind of moment of like, if his, and I know that's dark, killing a child, a baby even, you're getting into some dark territory. But I would have loved to see them really kind of commit to something like that and really follow through more on a lot of these storylines that they have in this, because I thought the design of the Lost Kingdom was cool. I thought that idea was cool. I thought it fit very snuggly in with the lore that we already got, but we kind of just brush over it really quick, and then he's just at the end and we kill him. Okay. And then Black Manta kind of, I feel like by the end, his resolution is like, I like the idea of Arthur being like, all right, I got to learn to forget, like, because he didn't save his dad. He should have probably saved his dad in the first one.
Sure.
Just being a hero, but he didn't.
He was still a dark DC Snyder character
for sure. Well, and I think he was, and I think it makes sense though, story wise, in the way of how he's set up, in that he's jaded. He hasn't been accepted by Atlantis. They think he's kind of a piece of shit. His brother doesn't want anything to do with him, so he's a more jaded character at that moment. Whereas in this, I think you can start to bring up that lightness. And I'm sorry, I think that campiness is key to the character of Aquaman, and you can make that weird campy orange and green suited Aquaman serious and hard to fuck with. You know who does it really well? It's the comic line that Jeff Johns wrote in the New 52, his whole first run. It literally like tackles all of this. And it's, blonde-haired, white Arthur Curry in his orange and green suit, and everyone's like, oh, what, Aquaman, you fucking joke. He's like sitting in a diner, and these kids are like making fun of him, and he's like, and it's great. And I think you can lean into the campiness of him riding a fucking seahorse and have it as serious as that. I hear you, but I think that's that character, really, in general. And I know.
Yeah, but like, does it have to be that?
I think so, and I think you can still do that in a way that's serious and fun and can be taken seriously. I don't think that's what they did very well in this movie.
I don't know if this is the truth, but like, have you seen the Superman animated series episodes with Aquaman?
Yeah.
Aquaman is very much like
that's
the Snyder version, where he's like, he looks like the regular garb, but he's blonde-haired, it's slicked back.
That was 90s extreme Aquaman.
And he's like hardcore as fuck.
Yeah, and he
like,
has his hook hand.
Very serious. No, he doesn't get his hook hand yet. That's in Justice League Unlimited.
Right.
So in Superman the animated series,
they do that storyline where he loses his, do they not, with his son and everything?
Yeah. But that's in Justice League
Unlimited. Right. Yeah.
But when he's introduced in the animated series universe, it's in Superman as like a 1 or 2 episode arc, and he looks different. It's the dark orange, the dark green, slicked back blonde hair, but he's really serious.
Sure.
Yeah, like he's not.
And I think another good example.
But he lightens up in Justice League.
You know what I think is a good example of like a silly but somewhat campy Aquaman that's like does it perfect balance? Injustice. Because he is kind of the campy green and yellow Aquaman.
We don't get enough of him even in the comics of Injustice.
He's very regal in that. He's very like, kingly. And I think you can lead into that, and I think, if they had this story more established from the beginning and weren't worrying about that greater universe, maybe they could have thought about it better.
So I do kind of like how, like, there's a plot point in this that, like, Arthur really, didn't want to be the king, but kind of just was like, all right.
He was doing this because Orm was going to he was going to fucking storm
and he doesn't like it. And then Orm's like, I think I do like Ocean Master as a character, and, how he's like, sort of an anti-hero a little bit, like starts bad, becomes good. And he's like, well, dude, like if you don't want the throne, like give
Why
it to
did you do
somebody
this?
who's
Yeah.
actually going to like do a good job instead of you like phoning it in, which definitely seems like what he's doing.
And I will give him credit in the first movie. We are like the humans are destroying the oceans. That's
Yeah.
why he wants to do this.
Sorry, no, I'm interrupting.
sorry,
I'm interrupting you.
And I think that there is good motivation there, and I like the idea of him like kind of. He's like, well, why did you come and take the throne? He's like, well, you're gonna fucking destroy the world, you idiot. Why don't you just leave everyone alone? And I did feel like it was like a weird kind of retcon to introduce that like council. It felt like a very like, oh well, we need kind of some, need some kind of tension for him to have in
with
the court.
Volko, and I was like, they wrote him out.
Well, and that was unfortunate. I don't think that was because he
died. He died from a disease.
He died from a disease. There was like a scheduling conflict. I think that was the reason he couldn't come back. But
what I was gonna say was about
Orm.
Right. I'm trying to remember what I was trying to interrupt you to say.
Sorry, it's gone.
No, it's okay. It wasn't. I think it was just like along the lines of like, I would have rather seen like I was looking forward to like the Snyder. The DCU is still thriving, going where Aquaman, would have been king between Aquaman 1 and Aquaman 2, and then would have gave it back to Orm and then focused on being Aquaman. Like, I kind of like that timeline in my head, but obviously we're not going to get that. It's over.
And I feel like most comic book, he's always king for the most part, right? Aquaman, like it's rare that he's not. So I get that idea.
And then he gets his fucking like Tony Stark moment at the end. I'm Aquaman. Shut the fuck up, dude.
I'm sorry,
that's
but
when you're saying like
that's where they were literally, I think, just trying to wrap it up.
We got to end this
some
movie.
way.
Yeah.
We need to end this somehow. We need to put a bookend. And I like the idea of exposing themselves to the surface world. I think that like makes logical sense.
Yeah.
But like it's just you could tell it was like, all right, well, we need to wrap this up here.
It doesn't matter at this point about it going up to the surface.
And yeah. I don't know. I will say, like I said before, I love the set designs. I love the weird steampunk ships.
Yeah, there are a lot of physical sets.
Ton of
like
them.
the Black Manta's base in the part of the world that he makes rise up or whatever the fuck. Like that was practical.
It was really good.
This looks good. Yeah, like not they could have done the CGI, but they didn't.
And they're just all these weird I know I shouldn't. And listen, I know I'm wrong technically, but maybe you're not. I don't know. Maybe some people agree with me on it, but I love the weird henchman suits. And I'm like, where did all these people come from?
Strange.
Where did he get it?
It just didn't make sense.
You don't need to tell me, because guess what? In Justice League Unlimited, when you show up to Black Manta's hideout, there are a ton of weird Black Manta-y men and women walking around just dressed in God knows what.
Black Manta suits.
I think you can, I'm fine with even superhero movies in general kind of leaning into that.
Marvel really never has even
like
done
the henchman stuff. Yeah, like I thought it was
like
very funny
henchman
and
to
well,
the T.
Literally, yeah.
Like I think like Doctor Doom may have like those kind of cronies.
Exactly, like they're wearing like fake metal masks and stuff.
Right, like green outfits. Yeah. Like what villain really has those?
I feel like they don't do that in movies a lot. So I don't know. Listen, James Wan, I think, is really a fantastic director. Malignant, his last movie, was one of my favorite movies I've seen in a while.
Yeah, I have no affinity for James Wan.
And that's understandable. He's mostly a horror guy,
even with the first one. I was like, oh, that's interesting that they're getting a horror director to do Aquaman. And then I remember like if we'll probably have the link to the review of Aquaman 1 at the end of this, but I know like The Trench was like, this is where like
you see
Wan's
his
horror
tastes,
perspective. And I mean that even comes through in this one with The Lost Kingdom, but like I just don't care. The Necros?
Yeah, Necros.
Yeah, or what was the king's name?
I can't remember.
Like
it was Balin
shit.
Greyjoy or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just like, I'm like, this feels like it's like the Lich King from like World of Warcraft.
It definitely felt inspired by that.
And he's frozen. I'm like, this is like literally Arthas in the Frozen Throne. I'm like, that's exactly what this is. And he's commanding troops, but he's like alive, but he's dead. Now he needs to get freed. I'm like, all right.
They definitely could have taken. They probably took inspiration.
I did like the moments where like whatever the fuck Caligula's name. We're just gonna call him Caligula.
Which one's Caligula? I'm
talking about the king.
Yeah.
Necros.
I can't remember.
It begins with the C.
Yeah, something like that.
I don't know, Caligula. He like gets into Orm's mind and he takes him over. And like again, the conflict between Orm and Arthur is the best part of the movie because I feel like it's the most compelling. And it's probably the one thing that probably stayed pretty intact.
You know, it was one of my favorite lines because I feel like you just never really hear people do this in even live action super movies. It's like when Black Man is like, he's like, oh my God, you took your brother's throne and then your wife? Aquaman, shame on you. I'm like, you never hear someone earnestly call someone else like their villain or superhero name in a movie. I feel like no one's like Superman. Let's like, I don't know. I love it. I thought it was funny.
My arch nemesis.
But yeah, his suit was great. All that set stuff was great. If even the CG, I saw a lot of stuff like online. They were like shoddy CG. I'm like, there was one scene in the jungle that reminded me of Indiana Jones.
Yeah,
I did not like
it
at
in
all.
the theater. We were like, this is the monkey scene from Crystal Skull.
But for the most part, for a movie that's like almost 100% CG environments, or at least like where they have to like make you float and you're swimming and stuff, like I think it looked really good. Honestly, for the most part, I really didn't find myself like that taken out. For the most part.
I didn't mind the CGI, but you know what's funny? I guess maybe it's because of the holidays. I haven't really watched any review content on Aquaman or Rebel Moon. So like sometimes like and you were saying you were watching someone's the Weekly Planet's Rebel Moon review, and it's like usually I'll get like someone's review by the time we record podcasts. Maybe sometimes it just kind of depends.
I tend to avoid them. I try to, but yeah,
but I'm actually going in knowing. Maybe besides Rebel Moon. Like, I don't know what other people are saying about Aquaman and Rebel Moon now that they're out.
I've seen people just saying Aquaman's a mess and stuff, for sure.
There was a lot of bullshit with, like, Rebel Moon and people shitting all over it. But again, we talked about that in that review and the Snyder hate of it. But with Aquaman, I just feel like it was like, I think people just weren't going to see this. And I think, do you think this is going to flop?
It already has.
Okay.
It's like, it made 100.
Yes, is basically
yes. So yes.
Yeah,
no, and like, listen, it's weird because Aquaman 1, $1 billion movie. That made a lot of money. That's
yeah, but again, DC different time for comic book movies. DC was on top, Marvel was on top. Very different.
I agree 100%, and that's the funny thing. 100%. But that's like the point.
I know.
Like we're looking at it's like, wow, this was $1 billion franchise. That's kind of why I did think I there was a bit of a shot for this to do at least like somewhat well.
And I think Momoa has kind of like cooled down since.
I would agree.
Like I think he's not as hot anymore as he used to be. Like people just like, oh yeah, Momoa, Khal Drogo, Aquaman, whatever.
For sure. And listen, I think the first one like reviewed pretty well. People seem to enjoy it. I like the first one a lot too. But yeah, I think that unfortunately, just in the times we're at right now, and I seriously will say this 1,000 times for the most part, streaming really has messed up a lot of this stuff for a lot of things. I think certain movies and certain directors, that's just not the case. Like an Oppenheimer, that's not coming on streaming for a while. Yeah. Like that
they have like respect for the director in the movie.
Exactly.
To,
so
just not do it.
You're like, all right, well, I want to go see that in theaters. Like now, honestly, I'm go wait and watch this on HBO Max.
Yeah,
I think if you like the first one, watch this on demand. Don't go see it in theaters.
I was thinking about it earlier because we were talking about like, okay, what order are we going to watch this in? Because it's like, or review these in or like release them. And we're like, well, like, and I even said it, I'm like, more people are probably watching Rebel Moon because it's on Netflix than going out to the theaters, especially during the holiday season to watch Aquaman.
I mean, it was number one on Netflix, whatever that means. Like, I still don't know how that
it was number 3 when we watched it on Friday. I hope Rebel Moon does well. I don't really care what Aquaman does at this point. And, like, I think that is funny. This is like an end cap to. Obviously, this is literally our final podcast of 2023. This will be releasing in 2024, though, first week of the new year. How low of a point we are for comic book movies, both DC and Marvel. We are entering a year with no DC films and one Marvel film.
When does Deadpool come out?
I don't know, but it's 2024.
It is 2024.
Yeah, and it's interesting, like, how low of a point we are. Like you said, I think at the top, like Superman Legacy is our next DC movie. Yeah. And I'm not really excited for it. You know why? I need to be proved. I need to see it, and I need to be proved correctly that this movie is actually worth being like really excited for.
I mean, I'm excited for it just based on the fact of it's James Gunn. And that's a
legit reason.
That's what he's a known quantity. I love most of his movies. I think he's a fantastic director. It's nice that it seems like they are truly focusing on Superman alone at this point. Like, because people keep trying to bring like, you thinking about Batman? What's going on? He's like, dude, we haven't even written a script for that. We're on Superman right now. We're gonna do Superman.
Well,
and then we're gonna figure that out.
That's Marvel. I want to say indoctrination or Marvel, how they've done things where like we're talking about one character, but like everyone else is talking about like the Doctor Doom of it. And that's happening with Marvel right now. We're on stuff that has nothing to do with Doctor Doom, but we're all trying to like Doctor Doom's going to replace Kang, because at this point, Majors has been convicted of the charges.
Two of the charges, yeah.
And he's done. So we've talked about this before, and it's like, okay, now Marvel has to move out without either Majors or Kang, and how do they do that?
Yeah.
And then everyone's like, but I'm like, dude, stop talking about Doctor Doom. Like, don't make it happen. I don't think it's the right thing. And now we're at the point with DC where we're just restarting everything. And why talk about Batman? We're on Superman. Let's just focus on that. But then James Gunn, I was talking to a coworker of mine, and it's like, don't you think it's scary that they're casting all these major people, but the movie's still going to be like Superman related? I'm like, yeah, it is. Yeah, I am. It does make me cautious that Gunn is casting Sean Gunn is going to be playing Maxwell Lord, and it's like, okay. And then we're getting that random girl character, that female character who's casted. I forget her name.
She's the main villain, the mechanical girl.
Yeah, she's the main villain.
She's I think she's one of the villains.
Yeah, and I was just
like her. And
I was just like, what? I'm just
seems normal to me with James Gunn, pulling out a C-list character that I know nothing about. And I guess the way he's explained it, I don't know. I'm really not concerned about. I guess the James Gunn of it all makes me not that concerned. In the way of
I'm not saying the James Gunn of it all makes me concerned.
Oh no,
I'm just concerned
I don't mean that
it's going to be like a chunky movie.
And that
doesn't need to be that.
Sure.
Already.
And I guess it depends on what he's using them for. And listen, I like the way he explained it of listen, he has a cat. No one's concerned when he's casting the entirety of the Daily Planet, because that's his work. That's his work, family or whatever. That's who you need. That's the characters you need within that side of his life. But when you're casting for the superhero side of his life, which seems to be in full swing, I think it makes sense that these people might be around, or he knows them, or he's talking to them about something. I don't know. I think that's that doesn't make any sense at all. No, I completely respect and understand that kind of gripe, or that hesitation, if anything. And I don't know. I'm just happy we're getting a year and a half off of nothing from them, and I think they need it. And I think this genre in general does, to maybe get these people back. Again, I think if you do release a well-made movie and a great story, it doesn't matter if it's a superhero movie or not. It just comes down to the writing and my affinity for that in that way, or trying to get us to have affinity for those characters.
Do you think Momoa will be recasted to Lobo?
He's Lobo. I think I don't even think it's a question at this point. that one interview that he had where he was
and this is long ago, right?
Yeah, I think he'll show up at some point. I just don't think they want to talk
Lobo
about it.
would be a great character for Superman to go up against. He has a cool arc in the animated series with him. And yeah, I think it's just a character we haven't seen in live action, so let's do it. I think it's so funny. This turned into from an Aquaman review to let's. Well, no,
we're kind of. I mean, it's the closing of the DCEU. No, it really is.
Yeah. I'm scared about who they're going to do for the villain, because it's we can't do Zod again.
It's Lex Luthor.
But what Lex Luthor? Which Lex Luthor? Because we got Lex Luthor. We've had Lex Luthor plenty of times, and I mean in BVS, he's not the suit wearing Lex Luthor who's fighting Superman
until the end of Justice League
in the Lexo suit. Well,
in that one post credit scene, he turns into Gene Hackman Lex Luthor.
What are you talking about?
I was talking about the Lex Luthors we've had, Jesse Eisenberg. I should say, playing Lex Luthor. Remember at the end in the when they do the post credit scene with Deathstroke, and he's dressed in the pinstripe suit, and he's bald, and he looks kind of the classic Gene Hackman one.
No, when I said suit, I meant the Lexo armor suit. And it's okay, we haven't seen Metallo. BVS was almost that guy in the wheelchair was supposed to be Metallo, in a very early draft.
Yeah.
Brainiac is the Man of Steel 2. I think everyone wanted to see Brainiac. I think everyone still wants to see Brainiac. It is kind of lame. It's we're doing Lex Luthor, huh? Again. It's so easy, and it's such a I get why, but I'm almost I just want to see something different from Superman.
See, and I think that's why he'll be I think you're right in the way of who's the I think he is the instigator in the way of we then
is it going to be is it going to be a BVS Superman, because he's the instigator in that too, and I really like that. But again, that was the first time we kind of got that.
See, I like the version of Lex where he's so smart and has the public on his side that Superman can't touch him, where he becomes president. I think he needs to be.
We haven't talked about BVS in a while. So do you like Jesse Eisenberg in BVS?
I don't like his. I like the idea of him, but I don't like his like his kind of like mannerisms a lot. I kind of like the idea of what they're going for, but like not necessarily his portrayal.
So you like the animated series?
Yeah,
Superman,
for sure. I think that's where
Lex more.
I think that's where you need to head with this, and because like the Gene Hackman is like the old super.
And,
he's
I mean, Nicholas Hoult is playing him.
yeah, which that was just finally announced like that was confirmed by Gunn anyways. Like that announced or that leaked like a month ago, and then he finally came out and like actually.
Yeah, we'll see. You know, it's just like. Okay. You know, like that casting really doesn't do anything for me.
No, for sure. And listen, I don't know. I'm curious to see where he goes with it and where he takes it. But I'm excited for Superman. I'm like, don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting here like, when is it coming out? I think I was like maybe a bit more excited for Batman. But I don't know, man. We haven't had a solo. Yeah, the Batman. We haven't had a solo Superman movie since Man of Steel. The way James Gunn talks about the character excites me. And I feel like he seriously has a good grasp on like what makes that character special. And listen, you're either of two minds when it comes to Superman. He's boring or he's fun. And I think his boringness in a weird way actually makes him fun and makes him have to like do things in a different way that are interesting. And, you know, I would like to see more space kind of stuff involved.
Right. That was kind of what I was getting to as well. That'd be cool. Like, you know, getting Mongol, maybe not Darkseid. I mean, we've seen Darkseid, but we didn't get him full bore. Even though I liked what, like, you know, Ray Porter as Darkseid, and that fucking great. Steppenwolf.
He looks great. Yeah.
Cut. Oh god.
Yeah. No, they look
so good. But again, like we got there, but we didn't get there with the space-based Superman stuff. Getting back to Aquaman, like I'm not sure how much I am to say, but we are talking about the DCEU, 10 years of the DC Entertainment universe, highs and lows, trios next, hurting.
It is. I don't know what I did.
What was your favorite part of the DCEU? Like no negatives. Like
my favorite part. That Batsuit's pretty fucking sick. I know, like, and I know that's
Ben
just
Affleck.
Ben Affleck's definitely part. I mean, like when it comes to like moments, I will say I think probably that Flash scene is my favorite moment of the entire DCU.
In the
Snyder Cut, like I think that's probably one of the coolest. It really is, and I was like, oh, this is fucking sweet. Followed closely by the warehouse fight, with Batman.
I mean, I for me, it is Batman v Superman. Like the lead up to that movie.
So larger than life,
and like I was working at the theater for that. Like, dude, like that movie, like, you know, people lining up, selling out. Like I felt like I was on like cloud nine watching it and like really enjoying it. And I feel like the negativity of BVS didn't happen until well after it like finished its run or toward the end of its run in theaters, where people were then kind of being negative about it. I mean, maybe again, different time, different Twitter space. It wasn't the same.
Yeah, I wasn't really keyed in on like podcasts and stuff at that point.
Right. Yeah. And that's like my point. But like, dude, like loving BVS and being like, that was fucking fantastic. And being one of the only movies I've seen twice in theaters. I've only done that with two movies, Force Awakens and BVS, and they were actually right around the same time. Yeah. Obviously that was my high. That's probably pretty obvious at this point. But you know, it's shame we have lows like 84, Wonder Woman 84.
And it does suck because you go from something that's amazing as Wonder Woman
low, but like you remember like all the attention the Suicide Squad had
before it came out.
With the trailers and stuff. And it's a shame. I would think we still should get the Ayer cut of that movie. It exists. David Ayers talked about it. I actually listened to his podcast with John Bernthal, and he was talking about that. And he's like, I have it. Like it exists. I have it. And I'm like, yeah, I think that's a worthy investment to just do what they did with the Snyder Cut, put it out there and be like, hey, we fucked with you, David. We're going to unfuck you a little bit and give you your moment. And I think everyone would appreciate that, just for the sake of seeing what could have been, I think is cool.
I mean, you watch that first trailer compared to the last trailer. It's like two completely different tones.
I should go back and
watch the first trailer.
I was actually in the Screen Crush video I was watching before he came here. They were talking about the same thing, but with Age of Ultron.
Really, it was much more. It was much different.
Because like, look at Ultron's like a quipping robot. In Age of Ultron, nobody it's
funny.
Like,
I haven't watched that in so long.
Yeah, like think about Ultron as a character and like who he is in the comics, who he is in the Josh Whedon version. Much different.
I don't know much about him in the comic. Like I didn't find him to be like super jokey and like non-serious, and at least from what I remember. And
no, he's not. That's my point.
Then he should be more jokey and non-serious.
No, he should be more serious.
Oh, it's so I didn't find him to be that super jokey and not. Again, I haven't seen Age of Ultron and God knows how long.
Right.
But
you and a lot of other people, I feel.
Yeah. I don't know. I think that's kind of where I'm at, Gooch. Aside from moments, like, dude, I do a lot of the suits in DC have been peak for me in a lot of ways. Like,
they actually never really fuck up.
There's a few that I wasn't the biggest fan of. Like, I still don't like. I like the idea of the Flash suit, but in practicality, it just doesn't.
Which one?
The new, like the Flash movie suit. I don't like the cowl that much.
Snyder really like honed in on like a good suit.
Well, and he brought the people he hired did, his costume designers and stuff did, which is great. Like, he knows how to choose that stuff. I will give it to him for the most part. So, I love his suit in Justice League.
What would you give Aquaman: The Lost Kingdom on the Luke Kennedy patented review system?
High tier flick. It's definitely a flick.
Mid tier flick.
Fair enough.
Good. I
had some fun with it. But like, again, like that's not me saying you should go like that. I hope you don't take that as a stirring endorsement. I just enjoyed myself, and I wasn't as, I don't mean to say this, but I wasn't as bored as I was in like a
maybe
Rebel
it's a
Moon.
low tier flick, but maybe it's not. It's not like a total piece
Like, it's
of
not
shit.
like when I think of like a trash film, like low tier flick.
What was a movie I really hated?
Morbius is one of those that I'm like.
Well, for me, Let There Be Carnage.
Yeah, for sure. Like
I'm just
think,
like I can't think of anything. Even Morbius, can't think of anything positive to say. But
sure,
Aquaman isn't a steaming pile of garbage. But I just
wish they committed to just certain storylines more. I wish we got more of Jason Momoa at certain points, and even like, I don't know, the Trident fights. They were fucking awesome. There was one part where they were fighting with his trident, and I'm like, this is where it's at. First movie, that fight between him and Orm in the Coliseum, one of my favorite fights in a DC film. That's actually a top tier moment for me. I thoroughly enjoyed that.
You mean your favorite part wasn't when they were jumping out of the plane and the Sean Paul song came on?
No, I thought that was Africa by Pitbull. It was the Pitbull version of Africa when they're walking out of the ocean. I think it was, yeah.
No.
There wasn't any weird music cues in this. I actually kind of missed that.
No, I think there was.
Was there?
Because I think I said something about it.
I didn't notice anything.
No Sean Paul, Pitbull, whatever the fuck.
That the fucking Africa by Toto, but I think it's a Pitbull cover when they're coming out of the ocean. Insanity.
Is that what it is?
I'm pretty confident. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
I'm very confident.
What a horrible moment in the DC.
I don't know, man. I love it. And then that part where he's like fixing his Black Manta suit and he's like playing the song too. I really like the first one, actually, now that I'm thinking about it. I thoroughly enjoyed that first Aquaman movie. Anyways,
what a better time.
Maybe, yeah, indeed.
What a better time.
Better time for DC, indeed.
Goodbye, DCU.
Goodbye, DCU. It was fun.
You could have been so much more.
Can you put like an RIP DCU like thing in front, like just in the
like a graphic?
Yeah, just like play some bagpipes or something. Yeah. Oh gosh. Thank you all so much for watching with us. If you've been with us live on twitch.tv/Delco Nerd Network. We really appreciate your time. You can find this podcast anywhere podcasts are found. Just search Delco Nerd Network. We're on YouTube as well. We got a Facebook page, Discord channels. We're on all your favorite social medias as well, at Delco Nerds on basically everything. You can find all this information on our website as well, DelcoNerdNetwork.com. You can even email us your comments, questions, or concerns to DelcoNerds@gmail.com. We'd be happy to get back to you. And if you could like, comment, share, subscribe, tell a friend about us, really goes a long way. We appreciate all the support you guys give us and hanging out with us almost every week. We'll be on a little bit of a break here, right, for a bit?
Yeah, good thing you bring that up, because I was just saying, yeah, we got well, at this point, by the time you're watching this, our Metal Gear Solid 3 Re3
so that's
has come out. There'll be 3 episodes of that, so 2 more after this one the week of this as well. We announced we're going to be doing a Dune Rewind review. But other than that, Rewind review and Re3 will probably take a breast.
We will be abreast. Yeah.
We'll take a rest. So we'll probably take, I assume, like January, February, March will be pretty light in terms of like extra stuff. We'll be doing our monthlies, we'll be doing our reviews, but like probably not.
And Dune we'll probably just can whenever we can, to be honest.
Yeah, and I'm like, we're probably not going to be working on much of anything like. And like
Nothing huge.
Like we've just been doing. We did so much in 2023.
We'll
like
have Echo at a certain point, probably too.
Oh right, yeah. But like that's regular stuff. We'd be doing that anyway. But yeah, I think we it's been a wild year. We actually like the podcast is probably the best year for the podcast. And it's funny to cap this off in the 2024. We'll probably talk about this more in our DNN game of the year, especially since that's going to be our first one of the year. Maybe we'll do like a little 2023 segment because I'll save it for then because that would be more timely for the monthly one because 2023 was a wild year for the podcast. We did we had a lot of firsts, a lot of different things.
Absolutely.
We put the pedal to the metal.
And we appreciate you all being there with us.
Yeah, absolutely.
So happy New Year to all. If you're seeing this after,
welcome to 2024.
Welcome to
Let's
2024.
kill this son of a bitch.
We're saying goodbye from the past. For Gooch, I've been Trio. Thanks for watching, guys. Happy New Year. Stay nerdy, and we will see you next time.